धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः।
ओम सहनम भवतु सहनं भुनक्तु सह वीर्यैः करवावहै तेजस्विनाधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति ओम शांति ओम शांति। Let us sit down and study together. Through discussion, we sharpen each other's intellect. May we not bear any ill will towards each other. Peace, peace, peace. Let peace prevail.
But today is also Mahashivratri, and that's a great auspicious day for us to do that. And I was looking at astrology today. It was saying that there are 5 planets in kind of one Aquarius house, and Mangal is Uch in Capricorn. Whatever that means, I'm not an astrologer, but I was just kind of looking at what the planet situations are, because I saw somewhere that it was some special astrological assembly or assembling of planets today.
Well, let's see if we can assemble the thoughts in chapter 16, because this one has got very clear-cut list of what.
That's why I brought it, that, let's hope that our kind of thought process comes together well, because traditionally people try to make it like it is some inner qualities rather than external qualities. And my question is, why not external qualities as well? Because that is what the real world is. And I think Krishna here is talking about the real world situation.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Up till now, it was all self-realization, different philosophical part, the knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Atman, how self-realization, all these things. Now comes crystal clear what to do and what is that rule book is.
Yeah. And
So,
what the world is
yes,
like.
yes. And that's important for most of us who do not want to delve into those subtle philosophical part. So,
Yeah.
so this one is very, very important. It
Yeah.
clearly distinguishes what are the qualities that we should nurture
Yeah.
to get to that spiritual knowledge and distill into our action. And the other one, which one are the negative one, which will divert us from that spiritual path or the spiritual knowledge and
Yeah.
action. So that's very important to realize right from the beginning.
Yeah. So it's a lesson for individually to us as well, and to Arjun as well. But then it also is what the world is and how you should act in and respond in the world.
Yes.
And don't be naive. And, it's like that's not an excuse. Like what Arjun is coming up with, the good man kind of situation. But that's holding him back from fighting. And what will happen if he doesn't fight? Who will prevail and how the world will look like? And we will get into that, because this does get into that.
Yes, it does tell us categorically, actually spends a lot more verses on what are the negative aspects of our
Right.
process rather than the positive one. He lists the 26 qualities in the first
Yeah.
1 to 4 verses.
Yeah.
Then onward, it just tells you, enlists all the kind of problems that can happen and which will lead our inclination towards wrongdoing. So, in a way, I think we did talk about in the hierarchy, the role of buddhi or the discriminative intelligence over the mind. Now, discriminative intelligence not only needs spiritual knowledge, needs strict guidelines also how to filter those negative thoughts and render a positive action.
Right.
So that is important.
Yeah. No, that's very important. But here is more like sampada. It's like what are it's like assets you have, and how can you use those assets? I mean, whether it's good assets or bad assets, they're all assets. And that's how he starts with that. I just want to recap chapter 15 because chapter 15 was what was holding Arjun back, or what's all about attachment. It's like how do you cut the attachment?
Yes,
Here, mostly it is I, me, and mine. How
yes,
do you not get into that rut of I, me, and mine? And how do you act? So, in the other one, how do you become free of attachment and how do you bring clarity? But this one is how do you act? Is
that's
that
right.
fair to say? Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant
yeah,
when I talked about it earlier. The other one is the spiritual knowledge, self-realization, through which you attain non-attachment.
yeah,
But we have to be able to recognize the negative inclinations which lead to negative action and how to save us from that. This
right.
is very clearly distinguished here.
Yeah. So we'll move forward. I will start with the first one, of course, Abhayam. I mean, this is what I love about, it's like Krishna starts the first, of the 26 list of 26. And, the first one has nine, first verse, but the first one is Abhayam.
Fearlessness.
If you are afraid, that becomes your weakness, then everything else falls apart
Yes,
because you will compromise on everything. If I
yes.
do this, what will happen to me?
Yeah, it is doubts and insecurities which leads to fear,
Yeah.
anxiety.
So Abhayam, I mean, he starts with Abhayam first, and then Sattva Sanshuddhi, purity, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthita, and then, Dhanam and, self-control, Yagya, all these good qualities, and we can go on listing each of them. But the second verse gets into another set of 11: ahimsa, satya, kam, krodh, styaga. And what I like is the first one and then the last one. In the verse 3, he talks about
Well,
um,
when you are looking at, can I just
go
go
ahead, go ahead.
so that it categorically mentions each one of them?
Yeah,
Okay. And it says fearlessness, purity of heart, cultivation of spiritual knowledge,
yeah,
charity, sense control, sacrifice, study of scripture, austerity, virtue, nonviolence, truthfulness, absence of anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to criticizing others, compassion, freedom from greed, gentleness, modesty, determination, courage, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from hatred are quite important. And I specifically wanted to mention them for us and people who listen. They will have a clear-cut guideline. These are the things to nurture.
right. So 26 is there, but I really love the first one, which is Abhayam,
Yes,
because that if you're not Abhay, you won't do the 24 or 20. And the
that's
last one, which is you always say that, you give example of Ramakrishna Paramahansa as well, and he said that na ati manita. So this is the one that protects you. So the first one is important, like that you have abhay, means that gives you the fearlessness of doing these things. And na ati manita means um,
too much of
I
pride.
am the most humble. So if you have those qualities, and then you suddenly start having that pride of yeah, I am the Teja. I am the, Dhriti, I am the most buddhiman, um, or I am the most pure. So that na atimanita, it protects you that, don't have this craving for honor. Right? It's like,
That is very, very important because we did talk about it before
yeah,
that the biggest enemy of knowledge is ego.
right.
And,
And that could be
that,
subtle, right? I mean, the
yeah.
the ego of goodness doesn't show like the, ego of some bad guy, right?
So I always let me repeat that once again. That's what Ramakrishna used to say. There are three slippery egos.
Yeah.
Okay. And we become very, even Jnani or the knowledgeable become victims of that. The ego of knowledge, okay, the ego of being the best devotee,
Yeah.
and the worst one is ego of humility.
I'm the most humble.
That's a,
So
the oxymoron.
I think Krishna probably realized that. So that comes the last one, the 26th one. So I think he put everything underneath this abhay and naatimanita, is that I think that makes sense for all of us to keep
Exactly.
it, remember at least the two.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
and
Remember, you mentioned when we were talking about Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, you
yeah,
mentioned that you when you went to Kumbh Mela, you saw some people who
yeah,
has taken up sort of sannyas, okay, and they are able to, or rather, they are manifesting that. The point is, it is it is a very subtle.
yeah, you could sense the pride they were manifesting. That, well, I maybe it was my perceptive perception, but I think it was kind of a, I am here and you are, you are there, right?
Yeah, that could be, but the important point is that whatever we do, if ego is hidden into that,
Yeah,
it is slippery path.
right. And this whole chapter is about that.
Exactly.
That, be wary of that, and
That's right.
how the Asuric tendency or the
And
bad people or whatever word you use today, those were the words that were used in those days.
the important point is to be able to recognize this problem within ourselves.
Yeah,
Okay. Cognizant of that.
yeah.
That's what is important.
So I think those we made those points, and then comes the dambho, darpo, abhimanascha,
Yes.
krodha, parushya, mevacha. So these are the other side.
Yes. Yes.
So those were the virtues, and these are the dark side or dark assets. We can
Negative
call it.
psychology.
Mhm. But three of them have, in my mind, have to do with ego. Dambha, which is like hypocrisy, pretense, it's like,
Haughtiness.
yeah. Darpa, which is like arrogance, pride,
Hmm?
and then the abhiman, which is what we call ego. So they are all related to this I, right? I mean, all the
Exactly.
three.
Remember, we did talk about
Yeah,
being the agent of the deed rather than the doer,
yeah,
and that's what it is. This whole idea that I am doer, I'm achieving this, I'm doing this.
yeah.
This is the manadambha apamana.
Right. Yeah. So, um, yeah, I think that's what it is, Damba, Darpa, Abhiman. Darpa is, Abhiman, don't you know who I am? It's like,
Remember one time
uh,
I
that is the Abhiman. Darpa is like intoxication that comes with that.
it's the display of that
Yeah.
self-importance.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, I sometimes said that Ati darpe hata lanka ati mane chakorava,
No,
Ati
no, no, explain me. What are you?
Ati dane bali baddha, Ati sarvatra parjaya. That's the very common
Ati
truth.
sarvat barjayat means extreme of anything is,
That's right.
forbidden or not good for you.
For 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 Ravan's
Mhm.
Abhiman and Darpa, or
Mhm.
self-importance,
Yeah.
he destroyed Lanka. Okay.
Mhm.
Ati mane hat darpa, ati darpe hata Lanka, ati mane chakorva. Kauravs had the same kind of,
Ati
uh,
man. They
yeah,
had too much man. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And they bring that destruction. On the other hand, Bali in the Puran, he was a king of the Danavas, or the,
Mhm.
what should I say, opposite of the Devas.
Yeah.
He thought he is so great, he has been doing some charitable work, and then he also destroyed himself. So the whole idea of this proverb is that too much of any of these things, but important point, which is a subtle point here, that Bali, who whose ego was inflated because he was making a lot of charities, he also destroyed himself.
Yeah.
Others were doing bad things, but
I
this guy,
think this comes in this chapter as well.
that's right,
That, even Dan and Yagya you can do in that Dambh and Abhiman.
that's right.
That's yeah. So
So
Krishna.
when we will get into that, and it shows that even you do good deeds, but with a pride and with a desire behind it,
Mhm.
then it becomes futile.
So he
Okay.
talks about those three kind of I things, and then he says krodha, which is anger.
Yes.
We know that. And
The-
uh, parushya vacha. This parushya I was looking into it, it's like you hit somebody with your words. It's like, I mean, you are using sharpness and it's like derogatory words like
Harsh
that.
words.
Yeah,
Harsh.
and agyanam, which is ignorance. So these are the kind of dark assets. And what happens? What happens if you have one asset or the other, right?
Yes.
So Devi Sampadvi Mokshaya, it gives you freedom,
Yes.
whereas the other one binds you, creates bondage. I mean, it's a very simple classification when he starts, right? I mean, if you have this, so it sets you free.
It is funny to me that this is the first time uh, in this chapter, or rather than in Gita, the word narak was used.
Yeah, we will come to that. Yeah,
Yes.
the
Okay.
Narak Dwar. Yeah,
So
yeah,
basically, it tells you how these things cause our slippage into an evil world and the rebirth and bondage and all that, as you mentioned.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. So here it says that the the 26 assets or qualities that you have, they will liberate you.
That's right.
So it's interesting that dan and being good to people and just having any of those qualities are liberating. So they don't kind of whereas the other qualities, the abhiman and growth and all that is a binding you bondage. So you are kind of going into, you don't even know that you are going into a spiral or something that's going to not help you in the long run.
Actually, in chapter 15, when they talk about, I think the verse 3 or 4, one of them says that people who live in this material world, they don't even recognize it and they get tired there.
Yeah, when it talks about that tree, and so
That's
when
right.
you are in it, you don't even know that.
That's right.
Yeah,
And these are the guidelines which
yeah,
makes you realize that and makes you free of bondage.
yeah. So soon after he tells all the dark assets, he tells Arjun, don't worry, you don't have it.
Yes,
You are.
you're of divine nature.
so, so because Arjun must be worrying, it's like, oh, why is he telling me these things? But, I think he's simply stating the two kind of assets, two kind of
You know,
classifications.
I was thinking our teachers who gave us positive feedback. No, sometimes we are stuck in
Yeah,
a big problem in some lessons, but
yeah.
they keep us encouraging. Yes, you can do it. You are capable of it. Okay, and and that gives you the impetus
Yeah,
to believe in yourself.
definitely, definitely. Because one of the common things in medical students, and we didn't even know this diagnosis in those days, is imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough, you know.
Right.
So, um, and then comes this the verse that has been kind of, interpreted in multiple ways, trying to. It seems like many people try to protect Krishna here. It's like, you don't need to protect. I mean, he can take it on his own. I mean, so Krishna, he says, "Dvau bhuta sargo lokesmin daiva asura evacha." So these two tendencies exist. People always say exist inside us, but you can see it outside. In those days also, if you look at the extremes, Duryodhan is Asuric. He has all the qualities here. And he even tells himself, and we have quoted his verse many times, Janami dharmam nachame pravritti. I have no interest in doing that.
This word pravritti is very, very important. I think I should try to explain it a little bit in my way, the way I understand the functioning and psychology. I mentioned it many, many times.
Yeah,
How do we think and function?
yeah,
First of all, it all starts with a sense object, an object that we perceive.
yeah,
Now, this object can be an inanimate, or an ideology.
yeah.
We get a stimuli from them. It goes to our mind. Then mind modifies it with the perception, which is your conditioning, your ego, and your expectation. Plus, on the other side, the prevailing trait at that particular point when you are receiving
That
it.
is where, pravritti. Okay, yeah,
So, three gunas, which one is the most prominent at that time?
yeah,
Now, that leads to your inclination, and
yeah,
inclination leads to the action. Now, this is the very short circle. On the top of this in hierarchy is the buddhi, or the discriminating intelligence.
yeah,
Now, Krishna, what he tells at this point, this Daivi Prakriti, these are the 26 qualities. If the buddhi, or the intelligence, or the discriminating intellect knows that, it can filter, modify, and then change the action.
yeah. You and I have this little difference here because for me, and so that buddhi that you are talking about, or intellect, they will also help you in doing bad things. Suppose Shakuni, who is he could counsel Duryodhan very intelligently and give good logic. And Duryodhan finds his own logic. And Krishna talks about that logic here as we move forward. That all this is how your mind starts working. So it's not lack of going to school or education. You are using that education to do what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that this thought process is
Yeah.
influenced by the negative complexes. That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay. So we will continue, but this verse that I was saying, that people try to say that Krishna doesn't mean that there are people who are bad people and good people on earth, but I think that's what he exactly means.
Yeah, some people have preponderance of positive inclination. Some people have got negative inclination.
Yeah. And that's why conflict continues, and conflict was in his time. Conflict is in this time, because here is where I feel that Arjun, let's look at Arjun, because Gita started from Arjun's kind of breakdown, emotional breakdown. So he has emotional breakdown because he's attached to goodness. Now, last chapter, Krishna talks about cutting attachments of all kinds, good and bad, because the opposition or most people in the fight or war are also fighting because they're attached to the throne or attached to their position. They don't want to give up those things. The attachment is so strong. Arjun's attachment is so strong to goodness that he doesn't want to fight. So in 15, in 16, now the question is, why should he fight?
That's right. And
So that is what I think 16 deals with. It also deals with, if you take it like, yes, inside you should have the good qualities rather than the bad ones, or the bad assets, or dark assets.
now Arjun has to uphold the duty of the dharma.
He has to protect dharma. And those people, if you let the Asuric tendency win,
Then they'll ruin
or,
it.
or continue to stay, then you are kind of, letting them prosper,
That's right.
and not good for the world. And I think we will come to the verses where it exactly says that there will be global problem because of that.
We
Because
always see.
Krishna starts very small, like very straightforward. These are the virtues, these are the dark assets. There are two type of people. And so far so good. There are two type of people, or two type of tendencies. It doesn't say people. He talks about
Tendencies.
tendencies.
Inclination, what I said.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and he did try to, do that heart parivartan. I mean, he tried that to change their heart, but there was no effect. There was, it's like
That's
stone
right.
wall.
Yes.
So that is what I like about this, that it literally also means that there are two types of tendencies in the world.
I think it's very important to point out not two types of people, but two types of tendencies.
Right.
That's
That I
that's
think
very
Lokesmin Daiva Asura Evacha. I don't think he says people here.
that's what is important to
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah. Well, maybe we are protecting as well, because Bhut Sargo Lok, Bhut, Bhut is
Uh,
not tendencies, but
the bhut is elements,
yeah. So there,
objects,
yeah.
elements.
Daivo Vistarasa Prokta, I have told about Asuram Parthameshwara. So this is the next one is where he starts the doubts of that. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha jana vidurasura. So these people don't know when to do the right thing and when not to do the wrong thing.
Yes,
So they have no discrimination, like you were talking about.
that's right.
Pravritti, do's and don't.
Yes,
Knowing the right path of action, knowing what to say, stay away from is nivritti.
that's right. Actually, it is very important, and this is what I was trying to say
Yeah, that's
before.
what you're trying to explain. Yeah.
The inclination, pravritti.
Mhm.
Okay, when it is negative, we have to use what is nibritti, which is moving away from it, okay, or suppress it.
Yeah.
And that's discrimination.
Yeah. And that's dangerous, right? I mean, you can see the red light flashing here.
Yes. If we are
If you
knowledgeable,
don't know what you need to do or what you should do,
that's
if you
right.
don't know what you should stay away from,
Yes.
nasalcham, napi chacharo, na satyam teshu vidyate. So they are not truthful. You cannot trust them basically. And their, code of conduct, there is no code of conduct. They will do what they want to do.
Exactly.
And there is no purity in their action or thought. This is, shaping up to be, it's like, come on, I mean, do you want them to rule the world?
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
Then he gets into the mindset. Why do the people, why do they behave that way? Asatyam pratishtham te, they live in asatya,
Mhm.
apratishtham, and calm. Calm hate to come. Calm is, it's like driven by lust and desire. That's, I mean,
Yes. Actually, lust.
we haven't used the word lust so much. We have used desire. Desire is the driving force
Yes.
completely.
Yes.
But
And
lust
actually,
and desire kind of makes it a little,
the lust is little more used in a little stronger sense.
yeah,
Desire can be, while desire can be good or bad,
yeah,
lust is always a little bit derogatory.
yeah.
In any case, this kind of people have lust, desire, anger, all these things, which causes problem.
So it
And
must cover your pravritti and nivritti, right?
it makes your prabritti, but we have to realize these things. We have to recognize these things when it comes within us, and
Yeah, but
that's
they don't recognize, right?
the Daivi Prakriti people they will realize who are self-realized, who use the intellect, they will understand. But the people who do not use that discrimination, they would not know that.
Right.
They live in that.
Right. That's what he is talking about. Asuric.
And they think it is all right. And
Yeah.
okay, they are the doer. They are everything.
Yeah. And
Go
like
ahead.
in chapter 15, you just said a few minutes ago, we talked about when you are in that tree,
Yes,
inverted tree, within it, this is it. This is my life. This is my desire. This is what I want. You know?
yes. Actually, if we look at the surroundings that we have,
Yeah.
and you see that very common, very common.
But in the verse 9, he talks about its social impact as well.
Yes,
you know, and he uses very strong words. These people who see the world like this, they are nastat mano. Their atma is nasht.
yes,
It's like alpa buddhi.
yes.
So this is what you are saying, discriminative mind. There is alpa buddhi. They are not discriminating
That's right.
buddhi. They have buddhi. They are intelligent. They have
Not using it.
kshayaya jagato hita. They work in the bad interest of the world, or it's not good for the world what they are doing, and they don't care.
Yes,
It's like Rome is burning and Nero is laughing. I mean,
yes. Actually, remember we did talk about it in this world order.
yeah,
We part of it. We are the human component. So if we think like that, we have got a global view.
yeah,
Okay. But if it is a self-centered thought, they look for their own benefit,
yeah.
not the society.
Kama hai to come. If you are
Yes,
only doing it for calm, which is lust and desire,
that's right.
then you don't care what happens to the world.
Yes. Or to the
And
other,
if you are in the leader position, you can drive down everything.
and that is, you see, there is a saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
So
Yeah, but it's not the power that is corrupting. It's
no.
the you who is corrupting.
That's right. They are discrimin with the power, with the lust, with the desire, with the
Yeah,
ego. Gradually, that discrimination goes away, and then
yeah.
you are trapped in that whole cycle.
So nashtat mano alpa buddhyaya. those two combination is not good. When your atma is kind of, is suppressed and your buddhi is kind of alpa buddhi. Alpa buddhi is a small buddhi. It doesn't mean that non-educated. It's like lack of your discriminating mind that you
I,
use the word.
I would say minor discrimination only.
Then comes the verse 10 where he talks about kama mashitya dushpuram. He talks about calm and dambh. Mithya siddhanto ko, they take, it's like we were talking about the wrong logic and wrong principles, but they are using good buddhi in that, they have their own principles. And I came across this uh, word called they get into their own kind of world. They create their own world. And there is something called hedonic treadmill. Have you heard of that?
No, I have not heard that
So this
term.
theory suggests that humans have a set point of happiness. So when something good happens, a promotion, a new car, or something, you have this happiness spike. And then that becomes your normal. And now you are again back to where you were.
You look for more and more.
Exactly. So why they call it treadmill? Because it's like treadmill, you are walking, then running, but you are not moving. You are still on the same space.
I
So they
think
call it hedonic treadmill. And
I
I
have.
think it explains what these people are up to. It's like,
Yeah, I remember it's like that guinea pig in the rolling cycle where they keep on
I
climbing, but
know, yeah,
not
yeah,
go anywhere, but the circle keeps on moving. So
right,
actually, we have seen that in our student life and professional life.
yeah,
Somebody did something a wrong way,
yeah,
they got some benefit out of it, and they think that is the normal, and they keep on going at it.
yeah.
Then do not correct themselves, and you have seen that ultimately it all leads to destruction.
Yeah, so that's what the bondage, he's saying that this leads to slowly and slowly, but they are also leading to the destruction of people around them.
The society.
Yeah. They start thinking this is happiness, that they're into that mind frame that this is happiness, this is life, this is, what is good for me. I love this verse 12. There is a Asha Pasha. So
The trap
Asha
of
is hope, and Pasha is a kind of trap in a noose around you. So Asha Pasha Shataiv Buddha. So he's saying आशा के सैकड़ों फांसियों में बंधे हुए मनुष्य काम क्रोध परायण. They want to live in that calm and growth.
we just talked about it. This is what I call it's a very, very important thing.
Yeah.
We many times we confuse excitement as bliss or happiness.
Hmm.
And my favorite example is that you bought a very nice car,
Yeah.
okay, and or a nice watch. You become very, very proud of it. You show it off and all that.
Yeah.
10 years down the road, the car rusts, then it becomes a becomes a burden.
No,
Okay.
exactly. That's 13 is exactly what you're saying. You know, I got this today. I'll find something else tomorrow, and I will, find more of everything. And I have so much wealth. It's like this becomes their gossip. This is what they talk about.
And I think it's also
I'm
called
not
one.
saying, and Krishna is not saying that don't have wealth, but that, that attachment part, to it is the one that calm, growth, irsha, and all those dark assets, together with this thing becomes the problem, not the wealth itself, right? I mean,
No, it's in the mind. And that's what the problem is.
or the tendency, right? Yeah.
A tendency, inclination,
Yeah.
yes.
And then, so this is material things they're attached to. And the next one, he talks about, the power, it's like, I killed this guy today, I, punished this guy tomorrow or yesterday, and I showed him who I am. This kind of behavior with people around you is what 14 talks about.
I,
So,
I
you know,
can't
I
help I can't help but interject. If you look at in the history,
yeah,
conquerors, okay, they could have been very happy in their own kingdom, okay, with a good administration, all that.
yeah,
But they had to conquer to satisfy their ego. Okay. So most of the conquerors, even though certain nations lionize them, basically not a very good person. Okay.
yeah, no, I get it. I mean, but this is that's why I like this chapter, because this is describing the exact society. I mean, when we were in medical school, and maybe now it is more, there were always little gangs and little show of power, little fight for power. It's like all those things were all around us.
Yes. And to add to that, if you look at them later on, what happened?
Exactly what chapter 16 says. They didn't get anywhere, right? And even the countries, I mean, that's how they're acting on.
That's right. And that's why if you look at fall of the Roman Empire or fall of why empires fall, basically the same thing you will see.
Yeah. And
Okay.
this is, Krishna is preparing Arjun to fight in a different way,
Exactly. Exactly.
because, he could have simply said, look how they insulted you, and, strike his ego, and Arjun would have been ready, because his tendency, Swabhav, as in chapter 18, Krishna says that no matter what, you are going to fight, something will drag you in.
That's right.
But he didn't use that. He's saying that, look, you're fighting there, but fight with this Daivi Sampada, that, the asset you have.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rather than you become the same, you become what you are fighting with. And then, he goes on to, I am rich, I have rich friends, I have richness here, richness there. And these are not kind of things that we don't see in society. I mean,
So we always see that.
yeah,
And basically it is stroking their ego.
Atma Sambhavita Stabdha. Somebody thinks I am great, right? I am a great person. Yajante Nam Yagyaste. So this guy does yag, but only for namesake, because he is now, it's like, you know, so Nachiketa, probably Nachiketa's father was something like, doing
Exactly.
yagya and ignoring Nachiketa. Um, and
Not only that, when he offered the cows, they were not the best of the herd. Okay.
the reject ones, is
That's
that?
right.
Yeah.
So that's
So, this basically says that, look, there are subtle elements as well. It's not always very clear cut, because you have to be careful that you don't get into the pride of goodness, right?
That's right. It's basically pride of goodness. When people do certain
Yeah.
rituals, certain things, if it is for show off, if it is all tainted with our desires, okay,
Yeah.
and all that, then the whole idea of these rituals are lost. And then in this verse, and later he says, do it as it is prescribed in Vedas, okay, where you are offering this to Brahman rather than for your own purpose.
There is a shlok here, idamadya maya. Idam, it's all about me, imam. So it talks about, it's like this desire I got, this desire I will fulfill. I mean, this is all this going on. And then comes the chapter, verse 18, which is ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham cha sansrita.
This this gets the gist of it.
Yeah, it's like,
Ahankar, Kam, and Krodh.
yeah, ahankar balam darpam,
Darpa.
bal.
Oh,
So yeah, ego and balam, false power. Darpam is, pride.
show off.
Kamam, of course, Kam, we saw that the driver of all of them, and Krodham. So these five are kind of, drivers, of all the things that happen. These are the things that you have. He's saying that you try not to have this, or try to know and
These are
follow.
these are the seeds of negative psychology.
Yeah, yeah. These are the seeds, or the causality, you can call it as well. Yeah. And what happens if you have these things? Those people with these five elements, they don't recognize that I am sitting inside everybody. They don't do that. And because of that, what happens to them is that they continue to be in that cycle.
Actually, these five things that you mentioned,
Yeah,
these are the greatest impediment to self-realization, understanding our inner nature is divine. Okay. And therefore, they
yeah,
keep on going through this vicious cycle of birth, rebirth, or trapped in that material world of the inverted tree.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
exactly.
So they never get out of these, they never face liberation. What
Yeah,
liberation is. Actually, Krishna in these verses, he leads Arjun to do his duty in a liberated state of mind,
yeah,
to maintain the world order, to be the human component of this administrator of the world order, as a as an agent of the deed rather than the doer sense within
yeah,
himself.
yeah. No, I think it is getting clear that these people are not only harming themselves, but they are harming the society and the kind of world.
Sure.
And something needs to be done. But also inside you, you don't want those, qualities, and you want to work, away from them, or at least those five things. You have to be careful that you don't get into that. I mean, cutting attachment is one thing, but behavior wise, I mean, you have to be careful that sometimes, it happens to you and me and everybody.
Everybody. Remember, we have these gunas or the traits.
Yeah,
All these three are always fighting within us to
right.
modify our action.
Yeah,
Once we know these are the attributes of the negative psychology,
yeah,
then we can easily try to get rid of them and refine our actions.
yeah. And like I mentioned last time, I always thought that once you start doing, the spiritual practices, then these things will disappear. No, they will still be there, because there is a momentum and there is the pravritti, it's like, so you have to take, like action. You have to make a conscious decision
You
to
see,
cut attachment, or to have a disciplined practice of, not letting these things overpower you. Because calm is a very powerful, you
Yes.
know,
If we look at the background of this great war of Kurukshetra,
yeah,
okay, there are some noble souls, Bhishma, Drona, Karn, all these people, they were noble people. I would say very, very efficient warriors.
yeah.
They, they, but they took the side of wrong because of their whole pravritti or the inclination towards, they thought, what is greatness? Okay, their loyalty, but their loyalty to a wrong side. They could not
So
say that.
I was thinking the same thing, Amitabh, it's like this chapter 15 was an eye opener, I mean, for you and me personally. But also, if you look at the all this cycle that you are talking, Bhishma, Drona, some sort of attachment was keeping them on their side, whether it
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
attachment of loyalty or,
That's right.
so that attachment is so powerful.
Yes.
And then if you are on that side, you do get some of the elements of, these Asuric tendencies as well. Naturally, I mean, so
You said it very well that misguided loyalty is also the enemy.
yeah, but it's also an attachment, right?
It stems from attachment.
Yeah. So Krishna is telling Arjun to have no attachment.
Exactly.
And that is where the chapter 15 was. And now he's saying, don't have any of this, like 10 plus 1 uh, dark assets. And if
Yes.
you have them, then learn how to kind of, get out of them.
Recognize this dark side, the negative psychology, and try to get rid of and
Yeah.
refine your action.
Because you said, rightly said, he's harping more on the negative side than the positive side. Positive is just two slokas, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
actually,
Two or three, maybe. Yeah.
that's very, very common human nature. Remember,
Yeah.
we were told about good qualities, but we are warned many more times about the negative ones.
Right. The negative ones. Yeah.
In our childhood and all that, wasn't it?
So then comes the kind of, the peak. The most important of the 16th chapter is Trividham Narakasedyam. You were saying Narak, this is probably the first time Narak word is mentioned here. Dwaram Nashanam Matmana. These are the three things that, your that will kind of destroy your Atma,
The three gates of hell.
Kama, Krodhas, Tatha Lobhas. That's just three things. I
So,
think calm is the biggest one. And growth, of course, and low, the greed. Uh, but calm is also, it's like calm is the reason the whole creation happens, right?
yeah, you
So,
see, I try to distinguish between a very strong desire is lust.
yeah,
Lust is not always sexual.
right.
Okay. Lust is very, very strong negative desire.
Yeah,
Okay. Desire itself is a little bit tempered down, good thing. Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
But,
but
sexual desire is also calm, right? I mean, calm,
yes,
right.
yes.
Calm
Calm
day,
is,
so without calm, probably creation won't happen. Um,
calm
but,
here, calm here is
but,
kamana.
mm,
Calm here is kamana and vasana.
Well, the root cause is the same. It,
Yes.
it, it transforms into a different,
Formulation.
genre, or it's like intensity.
Yes.
Uh, but this here is definitely the negative side of it. Uh,
Yes.
so kama, krodhas, tatha lobhas.
Yes.
So these are the three. Um,
Gates
and
of
then
hell.
he says, tyajet, you should give this up. And that is that's the two preconditions that Krishna puts. I mean, this is the action item, right?
Right.
Every chapter has an action item, Krishna has. So the action item in 15, the main action item was cut your desire, I mean the attachment. Here, cut these three things.
This
That's
one,
it.
this one is a clear-cut commandment or dictum. This is okay. Up till now, it's all philosophical discussion, why, how the world works, this, that, all these things.
Yeah.
To get the concept of negative psychology.
Understanding. Yeah,
That's right.
develop the understanding.
Now it says these are the components of negative psychology. You should be able to recognize it and you should get rid of it.
But there is a difference between, you use the word commandment, so that's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
He says that, you should tyajet, you should give up these things. If you don't give up, then you are creating your cycle. It's
sure.
not like someone else is sending you to hell or
That's right.
something.
That's right.
You will have the consequences of not giving it up.
Yes. I mean, I should have mentioned instead of commandment, I would call it a mandate.
Yeah, call it mandate, call it commandment, whatever we call it.
But it
Basically,
is
these three are not good
cause and
for you.
effect. These are
These
cause
three
and
are not good for you.
yes, cause and effect.
Yeah, cause and effect. But he says that you should give it up. If you
Yes.
don't give up, he has already said what will happen.
Yeah. You will never recognize that I'm within you. Your divine nature is always covered
Yeah,
up.
and he will
Okay.
keep cycling.
Exactly. This thing.
Etair vimuktah kaunteya. The three things. Once you are away from that, nasiddhim, no perfection, success if you don't give it up. No sukham, no param gatim.
Yes.
So he says it's a good thing to give it up. If you don't give it up, you don't get siddhim. So you won't get to success or perfection. You won't get sukham, no happiness, and no param gatim. You won't get to the, freedom or param gatim, moksha,
Liberation.
or whatever word you use. This is beautiful. I like this, 23. This is just before nasa siddhim mavapnoti na sukham na param gatim.
That's right.
But he brings here, a shastra. This is na shastra vidhi mutsitya vartate kamkarata. So he talks about shastra. So what is shastra? And I was thinking about it, it's like, is it constitution? It's like, or because there is no shastra in America other than constitution or some, good philosophical books. But I was thinking of simple example, a driving manual. Somebody who is driving on the road and goes for a driving test, there is a written test and there is a driving test that you can drive. So somebody says, no, I will drive where I want to drive. I will drive the speed that I want to drive. They may go to jail, right? So it's not a mandate, but you are putting other people's life at risk.
You see, what you just said, the proper functioning of an individual in a society
Yeah,
so that the harmony is maintained.
right.
Never does that. To me, at least, that is Shastra. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Not only good to yourself,
Yeah,
the all surrounding and everybody. So the point is, if you really look at it from the Hindu perspective, this true Shastra are the Ashtavakra Gita is for self-realization.
yeah,
Okay. Brahma Sutra for the knowledge of Brahman. Okay. Upanishad, which is the philosophical part of the Vedas, and Gita, the applied one. Now, in Vedas, there are some ritualistic procedure.
Yeah.
However, the important part of that is it's not only good for you or I, it is also around in our surroundings and other animate or inanimate object is goodness for everything, nature, our environment, other people. So
Yeah.
that part, if we perform the rituals in that spirit, it becomes a true ritual yoga. Okay.
Yeah.
But
No,
when
I get that, those are the ultimate kind of books we have. But even for Hindu living, say, in India, if he says, I will follow my own rules, because there is rule of law, right?
yes,
And so, though I think that Shastra here in generic term means whatever is the prevailing kind of practices, customs, or written rules. Yeah. Because I don't
I
know how many people read Vedas, I mean,
no, but what I'm saying, I tend to differ a little bit about the word prevailing.
yeah,
The whole idea of a compendium, when
yeah,
it is good to an individual, his surrounding and the society, that becomes really Shastra.
yeah.
Because
But
because it
where is
ultimately,
that? Shastra means it's written somewhere,
yes,
right?
yes.
So whatever that compendium
Whatever that
is,
means.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So actually, of all the scripture, we should be able to squeeze that sense and then read those scriptures with this thought in our minds. That's all.
yeah. I mean, for personal growth, yes, but for the
But
societal behavior,
for the function of society too, it is not only individual oriented.
yeah. So that is where, this, I think, chapter 16 is a very practical, very black and white chapter, and eye-opening. And this is where I think Arjun will kind of, make up his mind one way or the other. And we'll continue on chapter 17, which is
It is high time for Arjun because we spent 16 chapters.
for him to get it. And definitely, I mean, I think at the end of 18, we will talk about our experience through the
Or
journey
growth.
because
Sure.
it has helped me immensely. You have shared with me that it has helped.
युयुत्सवः मामकः